Welcome to Country's Family Reunion 2010. Can you believe it's been 13 years since we had the first reunion? Wow, so many great memories. And yet somehow year after year, the reunions just get better and better. With a whole new group of country music legends, plus all the reunion favorites you've come to know and love, this gathering just might be the best yet. So sit back and relax as we share some stories, songs, moments that'll touch your heart. Welcome to Country's Family Reunion 2010.
Everybody's invited. Everybody's here. Yeah. Old friends, new faces. Great to have everybody in the family reunion circle one more time. Somebody left the gate open in Branson and Moe Bandy got out. We thought you were going to be with us when we did the family reunion live in Branson.
Well, I couldn't make it on that one, but I want to do another one when you do it there, if you ask me.
You get the warrants cleared up?
Huh?
You got the warrants cleared up?
I got the warrants cleared up, yeah. And there was a big bowling match on that day I wanted to watch. And it was exciting, yeah. In the beginning of a bicycle race. I always like to watch that on TV.
Did you make that wet shawl contest?
I did it.
Okay.
I did that. But other than that, I could have been there.
Did you choose to sit next to Johnny Lee?
I guess I did. I know I'm in a bad neighborhood right over here. Now, we told stories on each other last time, but we've even added a couple.
That's true, too.
I can't be around this guy.
I thought I was going to have to start wearing pads to play golf with this guy, man. He hit me, he hit me between the shoulder blades with a golf ball, knocked me down. He come running up. Are you all right? I said, is that all you got? And then about a week later, we were playing golf again, and he runs a golf cart up on a curb, playing with old Mickey Gilly, and got it up there like on a tripod. That wheel, man, it was going around about 9,000 miles an hour. And I'm out there rocking the golf cart. This is right there, my back is still sore. I've got a big bruise. The title is 2 in the middle of my back. Mo's up there. Rock it. I'm rocking that golf cart, hoping we don't, Ranger come out and run us off. And finally, it got a little bit of traction. When that thing took off, I had on a pair of brand new golf shoes, put a tread mark right across, so it run over my foot.
Mashed his foot.
Yeah.
And then the other night we were eating, and John says, have you noticed lately in this point in our life that every once in a while when we eat, we dribble a little food, maybe sometimes on our shirt, And I said, yeah, I do that every once in a while, but I'm not too bad about it. Well, about that time, there were some guys playing some music, and I said, let's move around, John. We'll move around these other tables. Well, we moved around, and John took my chair that I was in, and he sat down right in a big old hunk of potatoes that it fell out.
He left a pile of potatoes. I sat down and said, Mo, you want to clean this up?
So we can't get around each other. I mean, it's dangerous.
Well, then get away from him and come up here and sing a great Moe Bandy song.
Yeah. I'll do that. Yeah. Do I have a mic stand here? We'd like to do a song I recorded. And if you will, sing along with me. If we have a few singers here, I believe. Till I'm Too Old to Die Young.
Yeah.
I like this song.
If life is like a candle bright, death must be the wind. You can close your window tight, and it still comes blowing in. So I will climb the highest hill and watch the rising sun. And I pray that I don't feel the chill till I'm too old to die young. Everybody sing with me here. Let me watch my children grow to see what they become. Oh Lord, don't let that cold wind blow till I'm too old to die young. Now I have had Some dear sweet friends I thought would never die. Now the only thing that's left of them is a teardrops in my eyes. If I could have one wish today and know it would be done, well, I would say everyone could stay till they're too old to die young. Let me watch my children grow to see what they become. Oh Lord, don't let that cold wind blow till I'm too old to die young. One more time. Let me watch my children grow to see what they become. Oh Lord, don't let that cold wind blow till I'm too old to die young. Thank you.
Great job, Mo. Great song. Seeley had a good comment during that song called "Too Old to Die Young." Would you say?
Well, I think we're successful. We've made it. We are now too old to die young.
Speak for yourself.
Well, yeah, I am.
Talking about dying young, you know, so many times we all hear today about the old songs. People say we don't get to hear the old songs. And most people, when they say old songs, I think they're talking, you know, maybe country music from maybe the 60s and 70s that so many of us have made. Charlie Louvin has gone back even farther with some of the albums and all that he's done. You have managed to keep alive. And of course, when it was the Louvin brothers, you and Ira, you did a lot of the old songs. But you've always gone back and done the songs even from back in the 20s and 30s, and maybe even some of the songs that maybe came over even from the other side of the ocean.
I think the old songs is more possible. It makes they're easier to believe. They, more people, they fit more people than the songs of today. And the melodies, I guess all the melodies have been used up. Not too many good ones today.
Why do you think the older songs are more believable?
I think they're about real life. They're not hip hop songs. They tell a story.
Yeah.
I don't like to sing a song if it don't have a meaning to it, you know. But I can't describe. I'm fixing to cut an album where I'm going to record a 1862 song, written in 1862, and that was just the beginning of the Civil War. So we've had how many? A dozen since then. I don't think there's any World War I songs, but the twos, World War II. There's a lot of there, and then Vietnam and Korea, and right now we've got 6 or 8 going on at one time. So I don't know what they'll call this century. But Bill Anderson's still writing songs, I can believe.
I did not write the one from 1862.
They really do.
You notice he looked at me when he said that. I was getting a little scared.
When better songs are written, Bill Anderson will write them.
You're very kind. Who wrote Wreck on the Highway? Did Roy Acuff write it?
Roy Acuff wrote that. I heard that the first time in 1941. I was 14 at the time. And I think I heard the first time he sang it on the Grand Ole Opry.
Wow.
As we could listen to only a selected few radio stations. Then it wasn't like now. people go on a 2-week vacation, they leave a TV on and the radio playing in the house. That's supposed to keep the boogers away. But back in good, I'm going to call it the good days, and quit calling it the old days. Yeah. But back in the good days, we had special things we could listen to. We listened to the Carter family transcriptions at XCRF in Acuna, Mexico.
That's right.
And we listened to WJJD in Chicago. They had some great country music there, and of course the Opry. I started listening to the Opry before we had a radio. We'd walk a half a mile to the grocery store. That man had a radio. No electricity, but he had a radio, and there would be 15 people sitting in his living room listening to the Grand Ole Opry.
Wow.
Of course, you just go and listen to the ones you liked, because you knew what time is on. Back in the early days with the Opry, you knew that Bill Monroe was going to be on this show, and you knew what time Roy Acuff was coming on, and even the Delmore brothers. So we would go listen, and when your favorite was over, you was expected to vacate that chair because there's always a few people standing, and so you go on back home.
Cool.
Who was your favorite? Who would you go to listen
The Delmore brothers intrigued me more than any duo there was, because Alton told Ari and I that the Delmore brothers sang like a pig trots. They don't phrase nothing if you've ever watched a pig trot. It's pretty persistent. But they were together. The Delmore brothers were together. Of course, they were brothers. They had an advantage. And there's nothing quite like sibling harmony. And because you got the same mom and daddy, or usually that's so, and so you live in the same house and you don't have to go nowhere to rehearse. You rehearse anywhere you're at. Ari and I used to sing in the cotton field while you was picking cotton. We'd always get a row by the side of each other. Whatever you were doing, song didn't bother your work.
Talk about Melba. You said, come on over, Melba, get on the carpet here with us.
Put her in the middle. If you sing with this girl, you will hump and get it, or she'll make you look bad. I guarantee you that. She's a singing piece of machinery.
She certainly is that. She certainly is that. What y'all gonna sing?
Actually, she has chosen, I don't know, why she chose this. I suppose it's because Bill Anderson is hosting the show.
No, well, it's my favorite Bill Anderson song that you've written. And Charlie, you had the big hit on it a few years ago.
It's a very sad song, and the way I sung it, it was pitiful.
No, well, it'll be more than pitiful when I get through with it today.
I'm going to try a little low harmony, or I might even try a couple of words of high stuff, but it's hard for a country boy like me to sing tenor, especially to a lady. The gentleman's got the kickoff. We'll sing Think I'll Go Somewhere. Find out why Bill wrote this one.
I just kissed the one I loved for the last time. Never has his soft lips been so sweet.
Get out of here.
He's gone away and won't be back forever. Think I'll go somewhere and cry myself to sleep. Just before he said goodbye, he called me darling, and slowly ran his fingers down my cheek. I thought I'd die when he said he still loved me. Think I'll go somewhere and cry myself to sleep. sleep. Not because I'm sad, but cause I'm weak. I can't stand the thought of life alone without you. I think I'll go somewhere and cry myself to sleep. I can't stand the thought of life alone without you. I think I'll go somewhere and cry myself to sleep. I think I'll go somewhere and cry myself to sleep.
Thank you, Bill. I'm right after you, Melba.
Thank y'all. Wow. Y'all remember back years, I couldn't help but think of it while they were doing that beautiful job. We were talking a little bit yesterday about comedy and all that songs. Remember when they used to write parodies? A song would be a big hit, and Homer and Jethro or somebody would do a parody. I don't know if y'all ever heard the parody. Do you know what the parody to that one was? Don Bowman wrote it.
I'm afraid to.
It's called Think I'll Go Somewhere and Buy Myself a Sheep. I think we'll just move right on from there. Billy Grammer with that guitar laying across his lap. Let me ask you something. This is not a Grammer guitar.
No.
But there was a time back in, I don't know, the 60s, maybe 70s, when there was a great acoustical guitar on the market that I guess you designed. It was called the Grammer guitar.
I designed and manufactured it when we let another big company have it under contract because I wanted the company to get bigger. I had 18 people working for me, and we had about 4 or 5 a day production coming out. And all the artists, we didn't have enough production. You've seen my Grammer guitars all over the nation, every place. But I never had enough production to give the guitars when I was there, when I was in there. So what I did is I let people come in, Bill, and at the factory price. Now listen to this. This is a sign of the times. $127 plus $50 for the case. They could get a brand new Grammer guitar, and that's what most of the artists did. Red Savine, you know, he was red-headed, and he would change his uniforms before shows. He had 3 uniforms, red and green and light blue. And he bought 3 of my different color guitars. Now, it was very successful, and we won't go into detail of why they bankrupted, and I got the name back. I own the Grammer guitar rights and everything, but my age, you know, are you knowing what I'm saying? You're not old enough, are you, Bill?
Well, let's say now somebody goes in a store somewhere, a shop, and they find an old Grammer guitar somewhere. What would it be worth today? It's got to be pretty valuable,
now,
right?
if it's original and in shape, you know, hands-on, in other words, it's according to condition, and it's nothing unusual on the, I notice people tell me on the computer, or whatever you call it, selling thing, it's nothing unusual from go $2,000, $2,500 now. And they only cost $395 at the time. You know, that was the retail price. But it was exciting. I had a good time. I was very busy at the time doing a lot of concerts, and I had my own television show out of Knoxville, which we were in 38 markets, and I was doing session work. I did Charlie Pride's session stuff. I did what 5 guys was here yesterday Gene Watson, and I was doing a lot of stuff. And I had good people in the company Gene Martin, that played rhythm guitar, Benny Martin's brother, he built all the necks for me. And Odell Martin, remember Odell?
Sure do.
He played guitar for Farron Young and Barbara Fairchild, I believe, and different people. But they knew, and Leon Rhodes, great guitar man. I let those guys call the shots while I was gone because they knew what a guitar was supposed to be.
That's great.
You never got into making electric guitars, though,
No.
just the acousticals, right?
No, I didn't. I was going to. Now, let me say this. Gibson people was very nice to me for years and years. They gave me guitars because I was high profile out of the Jimmy Dean CBS network show, and you know how that goes. And you know, I could play guitar pretty decent, and they built me guitars. And they let some people go just before their pension time, and it made me mad. And I talked to the guys that they let go, and they formed the guitar company, this guitar company, the Heritage, in the old Gibson place. Now, the Gibson people are wonderful people. Don't misunderstand me, because the hierarchy of corporations, they do things like this, and it isn't the guys at the factory that did it, okay? And I talked them into building guitars, and now I'm associated with them. And of course, I'm 84 years old, and I don't play as much, but they still honor me with doing what I want and building me something, you know. But I tell you what, I don't know what you're going to say, but I'm going to do this for you, okay?
That's what I was going to say. Do this for us.
All right, let me get my volume turned up here just right.
Is there a microphone?
Huh? Well, I'm not going to sing on this one, but I will sing in a minute.
All right.
Now you put this where you want. I'm going to do this. Comes from the whole cast. We love you, Bill. I love you still, okay? You got something else you want to talk to me about?
I'll just take over the show. It's all yours. Now, they gave me a title. They said you were going to play a song, and I got to read this.
All right.
Plinking,
Is this
Plunking,
on?
and Plugging.
Okay. All right. Plinking, plunking, plugging along.
Yeah.
Now, I started out in radio in 1941 as a kid in high school. And you know, that's getting acquainted, and the people put up with you at the radio station, and you sang pretty decent, and I wasn't playing guitar as lead, just singing, you know. And then finally, through the years, I spent my apprenticeship as a machinist toolmaker at the Washington Naval Gun Factory in Washington, D.C. And this is what gave me my expertise at going and building the guitars and designing these things, okay? But in 1947, I joined, I hitchhiked from Southern Illinois. I actually did. That's not something that you just write. Ruth is here, my wife is here, and she'll tell you. I caught a ride with my aunt to Cincinnati, and she was visiting with us, and I went in and caught a ride with a truck driver up in the edge of Washington, D.C., and called my buddy that had written me and said Connie Begay is auditioning for a radio show. And I went and I got the job. And there's an old saying, yesterday I couldn't spell entertainer, today I are one. And that started then. Now, what brought that on? You asked me a question, and I got clean off the track.
I asked you to play that song, Plinking, Planking, Plunking,
Plinking,
whatever.
plunking, so that's what,
That's the
this
song.
kind of sums up. This kind of hey, that sums up my 84 years, you know.
Well, plunk and pick.
All right, let's get it right here. I wrote this just kind of, you know, just think about it. The plumber, the banker, you know, whoever, it kind of fits it. I'm over the hill and on blood pressure pills, still plinking, plunking, plugging along. I've kept my good name and a fair amount of fame, just plinking, plunking, plugging along. Started out in early 40s radio. Howdy friends and neighbors, keep them letters rolling show. A good radio band, we played lots of one-night stands, just plinking, plunking, plugging along. I remember how it was when we traveled, 5 pickers in a car, 2-lane roads, some were gravel. We'd do our 2-hour show, Bill, head home to radio, just plinking, plunking, plugging along. I'm still plinking, plunking, plugging along. Enough said, Bill.
That is absolutely wonderful. We got a guy sitting way back. How did you get so far back over there in the corner?
I always sneak in the back door.
Michael Martin Murphy. Way out in the west somewhere. Did you come here from your ranch? You have a ranch in South Dakota, right?
No, sir. I have 3 ranches, one in Wisconsin, one in Amarillo, Texas, and one in New Mexico.
Well, that's close to South Dakota.
I was just in South Dakota. We talked about it on your radio show. I was just there for a buffalo roundup. I put about 1,000 miles of saddle time in a year doing trail rides with people. And last year we went to Custer State Park in South Dakota and rounded up 1,500 buffalo with our trail riders. Brought them in on the last day. The Custer State Park Wranglers always do that every year, and we just turned it into a trail ride so people could come ride for 3 or 4 days and then experience 1,500 buffalo thundering over a hill. It was right out of like Dancing with Wolves, man. It was.
So you're not one of them drugstore cowboys. You're a real honest to goodness cowboy, right?
Well, I am addicted to a drug called horses and cattle. That's the other drug, Charlie, that people get addicted to, and you have to go into therapy to try to get over it. But there's really
Kinda
nobody.
like music.
Really nobody knows how to fix you, really.
Were you born into that environment, your family?
You know, I think I'm so fanatical about it because I was born in the city, but my grandfathers had ranches in Arkansas and East Texas. And my dad, who was an accountant who worked in downtown Dallas, wore wingtip shoes, knew that my brother and I could never really get an education about what real life is if we stayed in the city in the summertime. He had a fear that we would get in with the other kids that were just basically cruising around. You know, we're a very spoiled culture. And our kids in the summertime, we spoil them. And, you know, a lot of them don't work. And they ride around in cars and just get in trouble. It's been going on for a long time. This is nothing new. There were gangs around when I was, you know, a kid in high school. In fact, it was a big deal. And it was a big controversy that Marlon Brando and Elvis and people wore gang-type clothes, you know. And so today we get really upset because we see gangsta music. But this gang thing's been going on a long time, and it was going on, by the way, during the Depression when Al Capone and Prohibition was around. So, you know, it's been around a long time. My dad said, you know, you boys are going out to Grandpa's ranch, and you're going to work out there for Grandpa all summer. Now, my dad really loved us, and every single day when he came home, he played baseball with us and did all kinds of things. He'd take off his coat and tie, and, you know, he'd get out his catcher's mitt, and he'd sit there while we missed that catcher's mitt, 3-4 times out of 4, trying to be big league pitchers. But finally, he said, summertime, you guys are going to be gone. We didn't play in the Little League. We went to be Cowboys in Texas with our grandpas. And we would trade back and forth. So I spent my entire summer, and I fell in love with that life. And then I would have to come back in September to school and sit through 9 months of classroom stuff. Finally, when I got old enough to drive, I drove out there every weekend to the ranches. We'd leave right after school, drive all night long to the Arkansas ranch, and then sometimes come down to the East Texas ranch. I just fell in love with the lifestyle. I feel like I learned more about life from my grandfather, who never had more than an 8th grade education. And by the way, he got that 8th grade education when he was in his 20s. He signed his brand on his check instead of his name because he didn't know how to write. Wow. When he first started off. He was from Kentucky, and he didn't want to work in the coal mines, so he came to Texas to be a cowboy. I just lived that life, and I fell in love with it, and I had the comparison between the urban existence and the country existence, and I chose the country. And in my entire career, I've chosen to live in the country. I've never lived in the city, except when I first started off, and I was living in California, and I was a UCLA student. I lived in the city then, but after 2 years at UCLA, I moved to the mountains and commuted back and forth to my classes because I couldn't stand to be down there with the smog.
Where did the music come into all of this? Because you didn't really start in country music per se. Your first hits were much broader than just the country field.
Well, I talk about my grandfathers. I actually had a step-grandfather. The one I'm talking about from Kentucky was my step-granddad. So I had 3 granddaddies, and as a kid, I just thought I was lucky, man, because I had 3 grandfathers. I didn't know the divorce thing. I didn't even think about it. I was too little to understand all that. And, he was to me always just a giant of a man, even though we weren't blood related. My grandfather Murphy was the general quartermaster of Pearl Harbor went through Pearl Harbor, World War II, was a good friend of Admiral Nimitz, and he lived in Hawaii all of his life. He would come back home and bring us ukuleles and Hawaiian music records. And one year, I was 6 years old, he gave me this little plastic ukulele that was actually in a basket of fruit, the kind of thing you give at Christmas. And he was shocked to see that I learned to play it. And he came back the following year. So then he gave me a guitar. It was a Martin. The second thing he gave me was a Martin ukulele. And then he gave me a Martin guitar. My family has always been involved in the music business to the fact that since 1858 in Texas, we had pawn shops. And we always had classic old musical instruments in there that people had come in and pawned. So I was around Gibsons, Martins, those kinds of instruments as a kid. So he gave me this guitar, and it was a beautiful guitar. At 13, I learned to play it, and I played everything. I was like a sponge. I loved any kind of music. I don't care if it's flamenco, classical, country, hillbilly, gospel, jazz, rock and roll, you name it. If it was a good song, I got into it, and I liked it. And I'm still that way to this day, My area of expertise is country and cowboy music, but it's certainly not my area of interest. I'm just interested in any kind of music.
First time I ever heard of Martin Murphey, there was a song called Wildfire. Yeah. Playing like wildfire, selling like wildfire. Can we get you to come up and
yes, sir.
Lay a little of that on us and maybe another song or two?
Could I just say that he looks like the reason ladies love cowboys?
Please. We had planned to play a different song first, but Bill?
I'm trying to lead you astray.
I just want to say about this song, I was plugging me in, that I dreamed this song. I woke up from a dream one night, 3 a.m. Have you ever had that experience where you fully articulated the song in your mind as a dream and then wrote it down?
Yeah, it was awful the next morning, too. It was terrible.
I'm still trying to figure out what I took before I went to bed that night, or what I ate. They say watermelon makes you dream, so I don't know what it was. But anyway, I dreamed it in Genesis chapter 40. If you remember, Moses is down in a dungeon, and he's down there with a couple of other guys, and they, like prisoners will, they say, "What are you in here for?" And these two guys say, "Well, we're in here because the Pharaoh didn't like our dreams. We had these prophecies and these dreams, and Pharaoh really hated what we had to say, so he threw us in jail. What are you in here for?" And Moses said, "I'm in here for the same reason." And they say, "But we know you're a man of God and that you can interpret dreams." And he said something that I want to preface this song with, and that is, we never know what our dreams are. The best songs that you write are the ones that you don't really understand. I've never really figured out what this song means because it was a dream. And Moses says, the business of God is to interpret dreams. It's not the business of man.
She comes down from Yellow Mountain on a dark flatland. She rides on a pony she named Wildfire, a whirlwind by her side on a cold Nebraska night. They say she died one winter when there came a killing frost, and the pony she named Wildfire busted down his stall. In a blizzard he was lost. Dark of the moon I planted, but there came an early snow. There's been a hoot owl howling outside my window now, 6 nights in a row. She's coming for me, I know, and on Wildfire we're both gonna go. We'll be riding Wildfire. We'll be riding Wildfire. Riding Wildfire. On Wildfire we're gonna ride. We're gonna side busting behind, get the hard times right on out of our minds, riding
So what about Cowboys?
I haven't changed my mind since that song.
My little daughter, my youngest daughter, was about 8 or 9 when that came out, and I had not heard it, and she came to me, "Dad, you have got to go get this record, Wildfire." She was really into horses, and to this day, I can't hear that song without thinking of the look on her face when she used to listen to it as a little girl.
Well, I have the daughters to prove that there's some kind of connection, a mystical connection between little girls and horses. My little girls played with real horses, though. But the little girls in the city will go and buy the little ponies and with the long manes, and they'll buy the different models of horses that you can buy in the toy store. And I went in the toy store last night with my granddaughter, and those toys are still there. Those I think they call them Briar toys. They're beautiful and they're great, and there's just this connection. So I think little girls who grew up have kind of kept that song alive. I have 4 cowgirl daughters, and they're 24/7 cowgirls, and they've still got their little toy horses that they played with. And some of the horses they started off with, we have one horse on the ranch that's almost 40 years old.
Wow.
Wonder how many people named
be
their
some kind of a
horses
record.
Wildfire after that song came out. Probably a bunch.
Well, I never would name a horse Wildfire. For to me, it was an imaginary horse. It existed in people's imagination, and I didn't want to bring it down to flesh and blood reality, because somebody would say, "Oh gosh, I thought it was a paint," and now you've named your Palomino horse Wildfire. But I finally did get a horse. But I think the AQHA, American Quarter Horse Association, told me that there were thousands of registrations of the name Wildfire. So the way it works, you can really only have one name for a horse, so you had to put something else with it. And usually what you do is you try to put the breeding line in it some way. So you'll say maybe Pepe's Wildfire, because Pepe was a famous horse, that type of thing. But I finally named a horse Wildfire. Roy Rogers told me something once. He said, if you want to be a singing cowboy, get yourself a really good-looking horse. Because when you get old and ugly, the kids will still like the horse.
All right, I got you out of line on your songs, and you were going to do the other one first. So now do the first one second.
Okay. If someone will come and plug me in here. Bill Turner, by the way, is he not the greatest guy around? This guy's a legend in production in television, and he's just a great guy.
Thank you, Michael.
Okay, this one's got absolutely nothing to do with horses, but it does have to do with the fact that my family originally came to Texas from North Carolina in 1858, and we never have got over Texas. She came to me, said she knew me, said she'd known me a long time. She spoke of being in love with every mountain she had climbed. And she talked of trails she'd walked up far above the timberline. From that night on, I knew I'd write songs with Carolina in the pine. There's a new moon on the 14th, first quarter the 21st, and the full moon in the last week brings a fullness to this earth. There's no guesswork in the clockwork of a world's heart or mine. There are nights I only feel right with Carolina in the pines. Sweet Carolina, sweet.
horseshoes on the windows, and the wood stove smokes and glows. As the fire grows, we will warm our souls, watching rainbows in the cold. And we'll talk of trails we've walked up far above the timberline. There are nights I only feel right with Carolina in the pine. Sweet Carolina, sweet. Let the piano take it. One more time, Hank. Little bluegrass banjo at the end. Somebody hand for the band. What a band, folks. We have a great band on here. Every one of these pictures is great.
Hey, Mo. That is incredible. I know you don't get to Nashville all that often, but man, thank you for coming by and joining in the circle here today. You got a lot of friends and fans in this room, pal, including me.
Well, I've never been on this particular production before, but I've heard about it for years, and I'm really, really glad to be a part of it, and I love it every time I get to come here. But I got to get back and feed the animals. You know? So that's right. I got about 125 a day I have to feed. So.
Thanks for taking the time to be with us.
girls are
Michael
feeding them
Martin
right
Murphey. And the band. You're so right. I've mentioned earlier in the taping all the different members of the band, and I don't want to single anybody out without giving credit to everybody. But there's going to be a lot of people going to want to know who that fiddle player was. Hank Singer playing the fiddle. That was terrific. And Les Singer, who's no kin on the banjo. We got 2 singers and 2 Johnsons up here. What a group. But y'all are all terrific. Mike Johnson's leading the band. Dirk, your piano playing. Just terrific. Well, I'm sorry, Mo.
Well, while we're on the subject, I wanted to say, Michael, I'm a huge fan, fellow cowboy, and I bought a bull. I own a bull, and I wanted to give a little plug to my bull. His name is MoeBandy.com, and he's a bad dude. He went to the finals in the PBR this year, and he went to the finals in the NFR. And he has been really doing well. He's been on network TV more than I have, a lot more. But I've had more fun with my bull, and I just want to get a little plug in there. Keep an eye out for old MoeBandy.com. He's a good one.
I just want to say, for those of us in the world of the American West and cowboy tradition, I don't know if you can appreciate how heavy that is, because the PBR started back a few years ago with 21 cowboys and $1,000 each, who were all bull riders. And they decided that since they always save the bull riding to last because that's what the audience wants to see at a rodeo, they would just do bull riding only. And they started the PBR. And today, the genetics of the bulls have come such a long way. And it's very important in a bull riding to have these genetics. And for him to have even one bull that's accepted by the PBR and goes that far, that's a really big deal. I just want you to know. That's really a big deal.
They sold out Madison Square Garden 3 days in a row last week. And I had the honor, and I'll say this briefly, I had the honor, when they had 911, there was a lot of flags that were torn up in that tragedy. Somebody took the flags and sewed them all together. and they rolled them out across that Madison Square Garden, and I sang the national anthem. And what a thrill that was. I will never get over that. And so...
I don't think I'd say that briefly. I think I'd say that long.
But that was just an honor and a privilege. And, but I got all that through my bull, see? My bull's doing well.
There you go.
I'm trying to figure out a segue here because the next person I was going to call on to sing is Cowboy Jim Ed Brown. And I'm trying not to say anything about Bull when I introduce Jim.
I was sitting here. He's got a bull. I had some cows one time, and I come home off of a tour, and they had been bellering a bunch, and my wife met me at the door, and she said, I want to tell you one thing and give you a choice. She said, either you go or the cows go. Well, I'm still home, thank goodness. But, you know, it's great to have Michael here, and I know he's a cowboy, and I was just sitting here thinking, Bill, I've got goats, and I got one horse left. You know, I did have more than that, but I've got one. And I wonder if that puts me in the category of a cowboy.
No.
Yeah, no.
Just a lot of bull.
Would it be goat boy?
No, I don't know what it
It
would
makes you a goat farmer.
Just a goat farmer.
Goat boy.
Anyway, is it my turn to do something?
Yeah.
Oh, you know, I'm sitting here looking around, and Bill, it's amazing the talent that's here. It makes me feel kind of like a mosquito in a nudist colony. You know, I know what to do, but I don't know where to start.
You'll figure it out, Jim Ed.
It's amazing to sit around here and look at the talent. And I know that there's so many great singers here, you know, and I feel a little handicapped at times because I'm not that good.
Bill, can I tell the story of when we went out on the bus? I mean, just this particular time.
Sure. Yeah.
Well, it was sometime this summer.
Don't believe everything she
No,
tells
it's
y'all.
the truth. It's the truth. And I saw Jim Ed coming to the bus, and I thought, oh, Lordy. He got on the bus, and he had on a shirt kind of like that, shorts, white legs, black loafers, and black socks up to his knees.
Oh, Lord.
Yes. And the bass player looked at me and he said, Helen, that's pure sex appeal, isn't it? I said, oh, yes, hold me back. So we get down the road and the band's all going into the 7-Eleven, whatever, to get all the junk food and everything. And Jim had said, Helen, you gonna go in and get anything? And I said, well, not if you do.
Well, you know, I'm nothing.
You're better off not to add to
I'm
that.
just going to say, I think I'll leave that. But I thought my legs were pretty sexy with them, really, with them socks and all, you know.
I guess that's a matter of opinion. I don't know.
Didn't impress the bass player either.
I'm still apologizing to the guy sitting behind Chet. Yesterday, I don't know, your mind does strange things to you. And Jeannie Seeley and I had been talking about banjos, and Earl Scruggs was here, and we were talking about banjos, and you had mentioned, what was the story about Grandpa Jones and Buck Trent? You were telling.
I guess this is the way it goes because it was told to me, and Shepard may know this story better. It seems like he'd done
It's about Grandpa, I know the story.
Well, yeah, then you can help. It seemed like maybe a Dunn Porter show or the opera or something. Anyway, somehow, Buck Trent's banjo and Grandpa Jones, Grandpa picked up the wrong one. Do you want to tell this story?
I don't really know what
you
went on, but
don't? Okay.
he got
Well,
Buck's
anyway,
banjo instead of his.
Yeah, and I think it was Hank. Anyway, somehow he went to get the banjo. He goes out to Grandpa and said, I think there's been a mistake. I think you got Buck Trent's banjo by mistake last night. And Grandpa said, "Is that right?" So we went back there and he opened the case up and looked and he stood back and he said, "Well, I guess I did. It would take 7 German scientists just to tune that thing."
So she had told me that story yesterday while we were talking about banjos, and I went to introduce Buck White, and I called him Buck Trent. And, I know you're Buck White, and I know that those are your daughters sitting next to you, Cheryl and Sharon, the Whites.
He's probably been called worse than that, so it's fine.
Well, Buck Trent's a dear friend.
And he
In
is a
fact, he
great
came
guy.
out
We
when
love
we
him.
went to Branson. He
We
came
love
out and was with us on the family reunion show out there.
I think you're doing an excellent job remembering what you do remember.
Yeah.
I don't know who else could think they could take your place, but they're probably wrong.
Love that Bob Anderson. He's a great guy.
The Whites are about as well known for singing gospel music as they are country music, and of course, gospel and country are very
I guess the
intertwined.
First singing I ever did was singing gospel music when I was a kid. And I went to church with a fella that came and got me. I was in about the 3rd grade and lived out in the country, and this fella lived down the road. And I sang all the time, and he came and got me and took me to church with him so that I could sing with him. And he was a young man, I don't know, in his 20s, I guess. And the life of me, I can't remember his name, but he started me, taking me around. And first thing, I was singing, listening to the radio with my mom. She had an old radio, and she listened to all the Opry and WLS and all those barn dance shows. And I got to tuning in to all those guys. And we had a station down on across the river in Old Mexico, XERF, and Paul Kellinger and A Good Neighbor Along the Way. And I listened to that when I lay down at night. My radio was right there 2 feet from my head, and I would turn it on, listen, and all kinds of guys that come on there with a mandolin and guitars, and mandolin just kind of stole into my heart, and I thought it was a pretty instrument, so I had to have one. And we want to sing a song that was done by the Bales brothers, Walter and Johnny, and Kyle was the 3rd one. I never did get to meet, but Johnny, and I think he wound up living down in Chattanooga or somewhere. And but I used to listen to these guys, and I run into a fellow that played the guitar, and we tried to sing like them, But anyway, this song. Take over, sis.
Well, we can't help it. We like the old songs. You were talking about old songs earlier. And actually, some of these songs we're singing are not old songs compared to what Charlie's talking about, 1862 or whatever. But we like the old traditional melodies and old songs. And
This one goes back to the 40s.
So that's a new song.
1940s.
Relatively.
That seems
It's
very new
relative.
now.
Probably about 15 years old, 16 when I learned this.
But it does have a great message. The cool thing about doing gospel songs is every song is a brand new sermon. And you preach a new sermon every time you sing a different song. And we like to sing songs that mean something. And they mean something to us. So hope you like this old Dust on the Bible.
I went into a home one day to see some friends of mine. Of all the books and magazines, not a Bible could I find. Then I asked them for the Bible, and they brought it, what a shame. The dust was covered o'er it, not a fingerprint was plain. Dust on the Bible, dust on the Holy Word, the words of all the prophets and the sayings of our Lord. Of all the other books you'll find, there's none salvation holds. Get the dust off the Bible and redeem your poor soul. pretty. You can read your magazines, Charlie, of love and tragic things. Not one verse of scripture do you know, not one verse. But it is the truth, and its contents are good for you. Dust on the Bible will doom your poor soul. Dust on the Bible, dust on the holy word, the words of all the prophets and the sayings of our Lord. Of all the other books you will find there's none salvation holds. Get the dust off the Bible and redeem your poor soul. Get the dust off the Bible and redeem your poor soul.
Our mom and daddy saw Johnny and Jack and Kitty Wells before she had a hit song. And they came through that part of Texas. Abilene was where they got married, and that's where they first probably heard that song. And Sharon and I have literally heard it all our life. I don't remember learning that song. It was just over the years of because of growing up in a musical family. Mom and Dad were in a group with another fella, Arnold Johnston, that had the greatest trio. And they sang stuff like Blue Letters, Callahan Brothers songs, all these old things. And we still do a lot of them today. And when we started singing in the group with Mom and Daddy, we were amazed we just started singing them. It's like we had never sung them, but we knew them. They were in there somewhere, you know. And
you could probably testify to that.
He
too.
said, we just thought y'all was running around and playing and having a good time. We didn't, but you're like a sponge. You soak it up. And so they gave us a real love for that kind of stuff.
Well, thanks for helping to keep it alive.
Yeah,
We need to take a break.